Hey guys, the last double round week for Euroleague is around the corner. Let's start with the credit bank.
Hello from me as well. The credit banks, we had Swords performing at the highest level again, giving the win, an important win to to Paris versus Milan, and he increased by 0.8 credits. Very, very expensive. So if you already have him in your team, then great. Then perhaps it's a really expensive investment. On the other hand, we have Giedraitis and Grant on the upside, perhaps two players that we're not going to be selecting in terms of fantasy on our teams. And we had a couple of more great performances. That was Marcus Howard, that he had 27 points in 25 minutes, that he increased his credits by 0.8, and he also had a great game in the Spanish league this weekend. So he seemed to be back on his rhythm. Perhaps one player that he's very low on credits, just 6.7, that you could look at. And then we had also Maledon returning to good performances after his small injury in his finger. He increased by 0.7 his credits, and he scored 35 fantasy points. So worth having a go there. And finally, a couple two players maybe we've been watching closely. One is Tavares, that he also increased his value, and he had 30.8 points, and perhaps now is the time where Real needs him the most. Brizuela from Barca with 0.6 credits increase and 23.1 fantasy points in just 22 minutes of game, and potentially with all the injuries there, he will continue having good performances. And remember, it's just 7.8 credits, so very cheap option. And Jokubaitis, of course, with 12.5 credits. He's been on very good performances for a while now. And yeah, as we've seen here, Grant is also, a player with less than 10 credits that you could give a go if you need to. Then if we go on the other side, we can see a lot of, let's say, all-star class players. Fournier, Lucas, Mirotic, Campazzo, they all had off games. They all decreased a lot their value. And it's worth also adding on this list Sterling Brown from Partizan in the game that everything was wrong. Haifi from Paris, and De Colo from Asvel. Some of highlights of players that they lost at least 0.6 or more of their value. It's the second week in a row that we have Fournier losing a lot of value. So after the last two rounds, he dropped his value by 1.6, I think, or something like that. So he's quite cheaper now, still though 13 credits. So maybe we need to see first him having a good game to increase, to get back on foot, and then he's in a good price already. Mirotic, he's already very expensive, so if you have him, great. And then Campazzo, they're playing with Real versus Milan, probably one of the most important games of the season, a final for both of them. So this is an all or nothing game. This is a kind of game you want Campazzo to show up, and he's now cheap. In terms of coaches, nothing major here. I think what is worth mentioning is Zelimir Obradovic losing 0.7 credits as they crashed at home versus FS. He's only at 6 credits after that, so I think he's really cheap right now. And if we see Partizan remaining 4 games, perhaps is a good point to pick up Zelimir Obradovic at that discount. So with that, let's move on to our results.
Yes, and as you see, it is the first back-to-back rounds that we did not gain any credits, but we lost 0.7 credits, and Overall, it was a bad round for us. We had 124.10 fantasy points. Um, the players that gave us some boost, it was Hall with 26.4 fantasy points, Okobo with 19.8, and then Vajenkov as a captain 33, and Voigtman 16. All the other players, as you see, they had below 10 fantasy points, with Schneider -3 and Lucic -0.5, the worst, and having negative effect to the total fantasy points we get. And Coach Ataman gave us 10 fantasy points, which it was good to get from the coach. But you see, Edwards just 9 fantasy points. And also Mirotic did not have the best games versus Paris. That's why you see him. We put him on the bench. Just 7 fantasy points. We had another, not scenario, but the main team. It was with Juan Cherna Gomez, Kendrick Nunn, and Thais at center. But due to the uncertainty of Thais playing or not playing, and also there was a potential absence of Kendrick Nunn from the game due to disciplinary decision. So that's why we changed the team, but it was not for the best. However, we believe that we can bounce back from that round, heading into a double round week. So before that, let's see the coach of the week.
Yeah, and before I go, that just to mention, Ataman, 1 more point from Panathinaikos, and we have 20 points from him. So we are very, very unfortunate round. So let's move to the coach of the week, and there is no other than Banki. FS has been great the last rounds, scoring 97 points back to back, playing away from home, first versus Bayern, then versus Partizan, two of great home courts. And FS is clicking, they're playing nice basketball, and now they're playing at home versus Baskonia. So we're going to stay with that what we think is potentially a safe option. Also a great solution for us would be Zelimir Obradovic. We think that in that game versus Berlin they can give the maximum, but we decided to have him as a second option because Berlin have a new coach. They seem to be playing quite well lately, and we need to see how Partizan bounce back from a shocking last round. So this week, Banki. So with that, let's go to our trades.
Yes, and as you see in our trades, we go with the momentum, and the FS has the momentum at the moment from all the teams. You see, we traded out Lucic. He has the last couple of games, he has a negative effect and negative fantasy points. So it was the best timing to trade him out. Also, Okobo, he gained some credits, but that's why he sacrificed, let's say, and we traded him out. Same with Donda Hall. He had an amazing game with 26.4 fantasy points. He increased his value. Now they play versus FS in Istanbul, so we traded him out as well. Same with Coach Ataman. He gave us the 10 fantasy points, but we need his 8.5 credits now to bring in Petrushev. You see, he didn't play in the last round, not because he's injured, but due to the agreement between Crvena Zvezda and Olympiacos that he cannot play in their games this season. But with 11.5 credits, we believe is one of the good and best choices you can have at forward. Then Larkin, he is switched to a mode that we all know him, and we know what that means for Shane Larkin. 19.8 fantasy points, 14.7 credits. His value is one of the best for the guards to have. He's in the, let's say, mid-range, and it's a good get if you can get him now for your team. Then you see the return of Thais. He played after all and got 24.2 fantasy points. So again, 12.9. If you compare it with Donda Hall, he is cheaper. So that's why he's a must get at the center position. And then we go with the coach of the week. Bill also said earlier that we had two choices between Jelmir Obradovic and Banki. We go, as I said, with the momentum, and with 7.7 credits, Coach Banki is the coach for our team. But let's see overall how the team looks and the formation.
So our coach is Banki, as we mentioned, and our captain is Vezenkov versus Asvel Olympiacos. They do have some issues also with injury, so we expect Vezenkov to get more balls, and as we know, he's one of the most efficient players in the league, if not the most efficient, so we're gonna stick with him. We have with him at the forwards Mirotic. I mentioned earlier, is probably the game of the year for both Real and Milano until the next. So we expect Mirotic, even though he's not 100% in terms of condition due to the recent injuries, that he give it all. So that's the reason we kept him in the team. And then at the center position, we brought back Theis, and we have also Voigtmann, so the German duo there for us. And then at guards, we have Edwards playing away in Barcelona, another crucial game for both teams, Barcelona versus Bayern, and we expect Edwards to be the scoring machine. Probably will be a bit tough for Barcelona to contain him. Then the other star players on the bench for turn 2 is Larkin, as we mentioned, and Petrusev. If we need a captain, potentially Larkin will be our captain. And then we are closing the team with Yul as the sixth man on the turn 1, Tonut and Snyder at the bench. We hope to bounce back this week. We hope for a better result. Anything more from you, Konstantinos?
Yeah, that's true. We hope there will be a better week for us. Again, if we have any last moment change, we will post anything on X. Feel free to post your questions, for your teams, your concerns, and enjoy the last double round week for Euroleague.
See you next time, guys. Enjoy.